doing that function. So we will jump right into some key phrases and terminology just so you understand exactly what we're looking at. So the control test, that means that we're taking names straight off of the sanction list as is, and that will be our control test. And then for the manipulated test, we're taking the sanction names and manipulating them. So if we have Bradley Allen, we may switch those and say Allen Bradley. So that would be one manipulation to a name. The hits are a record of from the test file that matched against the financial institution's sanction list. So it's an alert. And then the misses are the ones that you did not get an alert on. The returns are the results from the data file, so anything that we get back from the test. And then big record types are business identifier codes, which I don't believe that we tested you on. And then clean IDs are names that are not on the sanction list, so they should not necessarily be alerted on. And then the UNSC and the others below are the sanction list that we're using to screen. So a bit more information as to what the client screening looks like. So for the control test, we use 5,000 sanction records and then 100 clean IDs from the various lists. And then for the manipulated test, we use the 5,000 sanction names, sanction records, and manipulated those from what we use from the control test. So in total, we had 10,100 records. And we did not screen you for the transaction screening, so I'm going to skip that. Here we have just a breakdown of the different records that we use. So you'll see the clean IDs. We had 50 individuals, 50 entities. So I'm not going to go in detail for this, but you will receive it so you can see a breakdown of it. And it's the same, well, that was not by. So when we say manipulated, we use 4 different types of manipulations. So we have word manipulation, where you'll see Susan, Sarah, Allison, and then the manipulation will be Allison is removed, so it's Susan, Sarah. And then for text manipulation, we will use MacDonald, and then the manipulation will be McDonald. For text matching, we have Catherine Abel, and then the manipulation can be Catherine with a C or Abel with an E. And then for date manipulation, January 1st, 1968, and then the manipulation will be on the year for 1967. And then finally, for your score calculation. So here we have 675, that's the number of sanction hits, divided by 1,500, the number of sanction records tested, and then the result or the score would be 45%. And then your results will be highlighted, as you can see here. And then we have a table that breaks down your scores, hits, misses, total, and then the returns, and then our group average. Do you have any questions so far? No? Okay, so we'll move right along. So your results, as you can see on the screen, well, no, before I jump into the results, I just want to highlight, you'll see 2 lines at the top. The dotted line is the central bank's average. So that's the average of all the institutions that were tested during this engagement. And then the solid line is a global benchmark for July 2023, and that's the AML Analytics Global Benchmark, which is at 95.49%. And for control data set, you're number 12, so you're somewhat in the middle. You're above the central bank's average, and you're just at the top of our global benchmark. And your score is 96.41%. And for the manipulated data set, you are above the central bank's average and just above the global benchmark as well. And your score is 90.99%. Your total number of hits for control is 4,731, and you had 176 misses, and your total returns is 11,973. For the manipulated data set, your hits were 4,465, misses were 442, and then your returns were 12,291. All clear so far? Okay. So as mentioned, we broke down the different records. So here we have your results for individuals. Your score is 96.75%, and you're number 13 on the list. You're above the central bank's average, so kudos to you guys. Your hits were 2,592, misses were 87, and then your returns were 8,213. And for the manipulated data set, you're number 9, and you are over the central bank's average, and your score is 90.33%. Your hits were 2,420, and then the misses were 259. And then your returns were 6,631. Now for entities, your score for control data set is 96.01%, and you're number 12. As you can see, you're still above the central bank's average. And then for manipulated data sets, you're number 9, and you're still above the central bank's average, and your score is 91.79%. Now, for the aggregated sanctions list, you are number 12, and you're above the central bank's average, and your score is 96.41%. And then for the Trinidad, the FIU's list, you're number 12. Your score is 85.71%. You had 18 hits and 3 misses. And I believe we will dive into that a bit more when we look into our system, so that way you can see the names that you missed on specifically.
And if I stop you for that, we did lose somebody. I don't know if they're Loxley and Anton. I mean, I think we keep going, but
yeah.
Right.
Yes. Okay. For the UNSC list, you are number 12, and your score is 94.74%. You had 793 hits and 44 misses with 2,380 returns. For the OFAC SDN list, you're number 9, above the central bank's average, and your score is 98.24% with 3,565 hits, 64 misses, and 8,053 returns. For the OFAC CNSB NL list, you're number 14, still above the central bank's average. Your score was 84.52%. You had 355 hits with 65 misses, and your returns were 1,464. So you're a bit lower on the scale, but still above the average. Now, for the clean IDs, your score is 85%. You had 85 hits and 15 misses with 233 returns, and you're number 20 on the list. Now, for clean IDs, you typically want to have about 10 to 15 hits. You don't necessarily want to go past that because that's pretty high, and clean IDs aren't meant to necessarily get a hit in the first place. So this is something we will definitely look at to see what happened there on your system.
And if we could pause here for a second. So with the clean IDs, what this is saying is that you're alerting on 85% of the names that come through your system, roughly. There's some caveats to that, and as I look at your results, it doesn't show that many alerts. Can you tell us what lists you screened against for this test?
They would be the person to answer that, and he seems to have not be on the call anymore.
Yeah, he dropped off a little while ago. Are you able to call him?
I will do that. I will make the attempt now.
Okay.